If you're a viewer that comes here regularly, there are not that many of you. You will already know I am a person of color living in Norway because of systematic racism and structural racism. The system is designed in a way that people who are brown and yellow, and I'm talking about Asian people from certain countries, black people from most African countries and from other countries where there are black people, and brown people, I mean Hispanic from certain countries in South America. If you're Hispanic from Spain, that's a different story. You are a European, baby. Anyway, so the system is designed to keep people like me away from certain positions. How so, Pollyanna? I'll tell you how. So if you are from Europe and you go to university for 5 years, if you're from Europe and you go to university for 5 years here, they will acknowledge all of your studies here in Norway. If you are from one of the countries with people with those backgrounds I just mentioned, they don't accept all of your education. They accept some of it, and they simply scrape the rest of it from your record. Let them go to school for as many years as the average Norwegian, which is not true. I went to school in the United States. I went to school in Australia and in Brazil. I took an own research trip to New Zealand where I was in 1995 and 1996. I am more than qualified to be a teacher, to be a professor, a lecturer. But here in Norway, because of the time I spent in Brazil as a teacher, studying to be a teacher, they do not recognize all of my studies. They accept 3 years of my studies when I went to get my bachelor's for 5 years with extra credit for different subjects. So they will only acknowledge those 3 years. My master's degree in Australia in 1997 and 1998, they only acknowledge that as an extension course. They were asking, and they, I mean the authorities that recognize your diplomas, they asked for my transcripts from high school in the US to verify my studies, even though I already had a bachelor's and a master's. And in the end, I'm still going back and forth with the authorities in Norway to get all of my education recognized. Spent altogether a good 8 years of higher education, and some of it in English-speaking countries. And guess what I want to teach here in Norway? You guessed, English. A lot of my counterparts, like people who teach English in Norway, they probably have been to English-speaking countries, and some of them may have lived in English-speaking countries, but the vast majority are people who have traveled to countries but have lived in Norway most of their lives. A lot of the people that I've seen in schools, like especially junior high schools, they have a 1-year certificate in English, and they have didactics and pedagogy 1-year course, I believe, but they have a lot less than what I have. They have fewer years of experience in English-speaking countries, and they have the priority in hiring. Norwegian people do. Is it wrong? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's just fair. It's their. So why should they give me the priority, right? Nevertheless, stop asking me why I don't get a job closer to home. If they gave me a job to home, in the first place, I wouldn't have had to go looking for a job in a different city. And it's very hard to put this into people's heads. It's very hard, especially if you're a white person who has lived in Norway their entire life and has been given so many opportunities. And you yourself, in your heart, you feel like everyone deserves the same opportunities. That's fantastic. You do you, boo. Keep doing you. I love you for that. But don't delegitimize my experience as a person of color. I don't have the same opportunities as you do. So listen to me and trust what I'm saying instead of trying to, time and time and time again, keep asking me why I don't are. Because I could never get enough work over the last few years. I never had the money to get a car here, to get a license here. I have a license from Brazil. So my opportunities were a lot fewer than the Norwegian people around me. So I could never buy a car. I have a family. I have debt, credit card debt, because I was trying here and help support my family. Of course, I couldn't help as much because, like I said, I was never given the same opportunities. So I send resumes, I go around, I try my hard, and then I get called for the school where I am right now for an interview for a permanent position. So what do? I say yes. Heck yes. And I love it there. The people are very, very nice. For the most part, the students are also very nice. Is it very far away from where I live? Yes, it's super far away from where I live. Do I have to be in a bus? Yes, I do. Can't I afford a car? No, I can't. Stop asking me why don't I buy a car. Stop asking me why don't I get a job closer to home, right? Accept that sometimes I'll be frustrated and tired. And if you have some words of encouragement, or if you perhaps want to buy me a car, go ahead and buy me a car, right? If you want to get me a job in town, I dare you to find me a job in town as a professor, as a teacher somewhere, right? I am qualified. I'm more than qualified. Education comes from a diverse background. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with giving the priority to Norwegians because this is Norway. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I don't have priority. So I take what I get and I make the best of it. And the school where I teach is really good. So if you're a regular viewer, you have heard me say this over and over and over and over again. If you're just coming in, I hope you learned your lesson. And if you know me in real life and you're just in here lurking and trying to see, oh, what is she going to say? I'm never going to say anything illegal. I have the right to talk about how I hate the weather. I have the right to talk about how I'm a color living in Norway. I checked. Freedom of speech, baby. And in Norway, it's even better because not only do I have freedom of speech, I have freedom of action and expression. So there are beaches in Ranheim where I have seen women totally naked. I've seen women topless, and I've seen children around them at the beach. So I'm thinking, I'm wearing a swimsuit. Is it? Yeah, might be for your standards. But I'm covering my bits, baby. And guess what? The ladies are allowed to be naked at the beach. They're allowed to be topless, and I'm allowed to wear my two-piece swimsuits. Freedom of action and expression. Because this is Norway in Europe. Anyway, I've said peace for the day. Hopefully, I'll be able to go to the supermarket and buy some medication for my nose. In my culture, when somebody asks you, are you sick? they'll say to you, no, I'm not sick. I have a cold. So having a cold is not sick in my culture. What you do is you avoid being too close in contact with people. I'm not going to touch anyone. I'm not going to sneeze on anyone. I'm definitely not going to blow my nose around people. But I'm going to work. Last year when my mom died, I worked. The entire time I worked remotely, but I still worked. So I feel like a person of color, you have to do more. You have to the extra mile. And it still might not be enough. You will still get criticized and put down. So it's a battle. And I may not win it, but I'm going to fight it to stay alive at least until I retire and my life can actually begin.